All right. Well, good morning. I'm Frank Bubenik with Compass Computing Group, and today we'll talk briefly about cybersecurity for small businesses. Just briefly, my photo, the 1 minute commercial. Compass Computing Group has been around in Portland for about 25 years. And our focus is on small to medium-sized businesses, essentially just taking all the headaches of IT and security off the business owner's plate and allowing them to focus on their business while we take care of their cybersecurity and networking needs. So I'd like to start this.
Hackers are everywhere. From Ashley Madison to JP Morgan, from Jennifer Lawrence to the federal government, our biggest celebrities, corporations, and institutions have all been the targets of devastating cyber attacks. I wanted to see how bad a hack can get, so I invited a few of the world's best hackers to try to hack me and show me where my vulnerabilities are. And now I'm going to meet them in Las Vegas at DEF CON, the biggest hacker convention of the year, and see what they found. This might not have been the best idea. DEF CON is the biggest hacker convention of the year. It's a place where thousands of hackers come to hear talks, to demonstrate their newest hacks. It's actually a place that's so dangerous to be on the internet that they tell you to turn off the Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on your phone, and they tell you not to use the ATMs too, because those could be hacked as well. This is the DEF CON ballroom. It's sort of the main room where things are happening, and it's pretty wild. I think this is car hacking village. This car is locked. Can you get me in?
I'll unlock it for you. Should be good.
Hacking is no longer like this fringe activity, and if you are at DEF CON, there's a good chance that you're here because you want to learn what could happen to you or your company.
Anyone here first time in the SCCTF? Holy crap.
I invited Chris to hack me with his team, but they're going to hack me using social engineering, which is essentially hacking without any code. They just use a phone and an internet connection.
We help people with human security issues by testing vulnerabilities for like a network test, but it's for the people network. We test those vulnerabilities, see where the holes are, and then help people learn so they can patch them.
Can we try some of this? Can we try some?
Yeah.
See if it works?
Yeah, we probably could have our star visher here make some phone calls as
Let's do it.
Sure. Do you want to do a sample phishing call?
What's phishing?
Phishing is voice solicitation, and basically what you do is you use the phone to extract information or data points that can be used in a later attack.
Let's do it. Who are you going to call?
Maybe I'll call your cell phone provider and see if I can get them to give me your email address.
I bet they're good. I bet they have my back. But yeah, go for it.
I'm going to spoof from your number, so it's going to look like it's calling from you.
Okay.
Hi, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me okay? My baby, I'm sorry. my husband's like, we're about to apply for a loan and we just had a baby and he's like, get this done by today. So I'm so sorry. I can't call you back. I'm trying to log into our account for uses information and I can't remember what email address we used to log the account. The baby's crying and can you help me? Awesome.
In just 30 seconds,
gmail.com?
Jessica gets my personal email address.
Now, if I needed to add our older daughter on our account so she could call in and make changes, how would I need to go about doing that? You would have to send me a secure PIN through a text message? Yeah, well, the thing is, I don't think I'll be able to receive a text message if I'm on the phone. Shh. Oh, I'm not on there either? So I thought when we got married, he added me to the account. Okay, my
Jessica uses my girlfriend's name and a fake social security number
5127
to set up her own personal access to my account.
Wait, I'm sorry. So there's no password on my account right now? Can I set that up?
She even gets the support person to change my password.
Thank you so much for your help today.
So she just basically blocked me out of my own account.
I'll get her fed after this. All right, thank you.
Holy shit. So they just gave you access to my entire cell phone account.
You're gonna have to go on and change your password now because it's Jess, my name.
And all it took was a crying baby and a phone call.
Yes.
I really thought that my cell phone company would protect me. I mean, like, this is the most basic stuff, and they're not doing it. And if they're not doing it, you know all these other businesses aren't doing it either. anyone with a phone and an internet connection can do social engineering. But I was curious, what can a hacker with serious coding skills do?
Well, DEF CON is the world's biggest hacking convention. It's hacking everything, hacking social, hacking hardware, hacking software, hacking various systems.
I asked Dan Tentler, a well-known security researcher, to turn all of his firepower on me.
I did get into quite a number of things that I found.
So what were the first things you did? How did you start hacking me?
I quickly found your Squarespace blog and had an idea. Basically what I did was created a bogus Squarespace site and sent an email to you, a phish asking you to go to this website, run this certificate installer.
And I did it, because I'm an idiot.
So once you ran that, it gave me access to your computer, and I created several fake pop-ups that looked like system pop-ups that would ask you for your credentials.
You didn't even have to have my passwords.
No, you gave them to me.
I gave them to you.
Yeah. So I stole your 1Password keychain.
And 1Password is where I store all my other passwords. So effectively
And your social security number and your Amex stuff and all your stock trading and bank information. I can send email to everyone in this room as you. I am you right now if I wanted to be. If my evilness is working correctly, it should actually be taking pictures of your desktop and pictures through your webcam every 2 minutes. And I have been watching you for about 2 days now. In coffee shops, at your mom's house, on a plane. Here's you editing stuff. There's you like.
Oh my God, so this is literally
every 2 minutes.
Through my webcam.
Yeah, through this guy.
How badly could you have messed up my life?
I could have made you homeless. I could have made you homeless and penniless.
How? How would you make me homeless?
Like, I have control of your digital life in its entirety. I have all your credentials. I have all your access to all your financial information, all your work information, all your personal information. I can pay people with your bank account or your Amex account. I am you. I can fully impersonate. Like, the only thing I couldn't doctor would be like your fingerprints.
This is like as bad as it gets.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's bad.
So it turns out that Dan Tentler is very good at his job. I mean, he hacked the hell out of me. He got everything. Well, I mean, frankly, I want to take my computer and throw it into the deepest part of the ocean, and I want to become a hermit, and I want to never touch a piece of technology again, because holy shit, that was everything. That was the keys to my entire life, and he just pulled them out of his pocket.
All right. So usually when we do that in an in-person group, I look around the room and people's jaws are hitting the floor. They just cannot believe how easy it is for hackers to do what they do, given how good they are at fooling people. The woman who was using the baby cries, you can get that baby cry noise off of YouTube. That's all she did. There's all kinds of noises they use in the background. You obviously saw she was very good at what she did. And then, the fake emails, the phishing emails are how hackers, most of the time, 9 times out of 10, are getting into your network. So going on, right now, there's estimating about $4.2 billion in victim losses every year. These numbers from 2017. We're waiting for updated ones. You can see the different kinds of attacks that are out there and what the targets are. The millions and upon billions of dollars that are lost. People are pretty much aware of BEC, which is a business email compromise, which I'll talk a little bit more about in a second. Ransomware, a lot of business owners are very paranoid, and rightly so about that. Tech support fraud, many of us have gotten a phone call or a pop-up saying it's from Microsoft support and that they need to log into your machine to fix something on your machine, and just downright extortion. So recently, gotta go back. Went a little too far. Last year, this is an example. The Portland Public School System was hit by a business email attack where the scammer impersonated a contractor on their building project. So Portland Public Schools, as a lot of folks know, are in the midst of rebuilding their schools. So they have quite a few construction contractors working for them. Someone figured it out, what construction workers and what companies are working with Portland Public Schools, and crafted an email to the accounts payable folks that looked exactly like one of the emails that would have been received from that contractor. It fooled two Portland Public School account payable folks. So they did as instructed in the emails and went through this wiring process of $2.9 million. It got flagged by their banks. The banks were like, this looks kind of sketchy. The banks notified the FBI, and they figured out that it was a business email compromise, and that it wasn't really the contractor getting that money. It was being sent offshore to Russian Eastern European hacking group. Luckily, Portland Public Schools caught it quickly enough that they got the money back. Most of the time, it's not quick enough, and the money's gone. And insurance doesn't cover this kind of loss because you just let it go. And that's what a lot of businesses don't understand, that when you wire willfully transfer money, you're not covered by any kind of insurance. They're just going to say, you got to eat it. So what kind of industries are under attack constantly? You got the 5 here, but really hackers are going after anybody. They're looking at anybody who's exposed. They're just out there looking across the internet for internet addresses, or otherwise known as IP, that they might be able to get into. So small businesses have particular challenges with cybersecurity. You don't have big budgets like other companies do. You don't have a full-time IT staff. So most business owners have a few misconceptions. One, they don't believe it's going to happen to them. Why are you going to come after me? I don't have a lot of money. Just big guys get targeted. In a second, we'll see that's not true. It's expensive. I mean, if you are working with an IT company, they're going to tell you that you should have security in layers. So firewalls, antivirus, email security. You should have layer upon layer of security, and that adds up. Biggest misconception when I talk to small business owners is they don't believe their data is important to hackers. And they're right. The data is not important to the hackers. The data is important to the small business owner. So the hackers really don't care what information's in there. They just care that they get in there, encrypt it, and it's so dear to you that you will pay that ransom to get it unencrypted. And then you have the false premise of blind trust with an IT company, that they don't check with their IT company to make sure the IT company is constantly scanning their environment to make sure that everything is getting done correctly and no one has intruded their network. The blind trust, they trust their IT company, but you still need to check on them and make sure they're doing their job and what they're doing to supervise your network and your assets. Recruiting cybersecurity people is getting more and more difficult. There's such a demand out there for cybersecurity experts that most small businesses can't afford them. So obviously they go out, and ideally they go to IT firms such as ours to get that cybersecurity experience and leverage our experience that we can give them, because the job opportunities in cybersecurity are unbelievable right now. There is zero unemployment in IT and cybersecurity. If you have credentials and you know what you're doing, you'll get hired in hours, and you'll get multiple offers at this point. So cyber attacks, they only go after the big guys, right? Looking for head nods. Yeah. All right. Mark's is saying no. No, they don't. We've all heard about the Equifax breach, where hackers got into our credit histories. Many of us have heard of the disaster that happened at Target. I can't talk this one, it's still early. At Target, where Target's credit card systems were exposed because a lack of security in their Wi-Fi. You had Marriott have their network get attacked, and these attackers went after their loyalty members and grabbed passport numbers, all kind of information. Anybody who's in the loyalty program at Marriott was exposed. So that happens all the time, and we hear about that because there's the big guys. But no, most hackers don't care how big you are. They just care that you can pay a ransom or pay their demands. So here's an example of a law firm, not too big, There's an executive summary here on the left who was attacked by an Eastern European company. And what happened here is they were attacked. There's something called remote desktop protocol, which allows you to remote into your PC from home. What they did is they did a brute force attack on this law firm's remote desktop and just what's called a dictionary attack, and just went after each email account that they could figure out and just threw a whole bunch of passwords at it, and they eventually got in. So they then encrypted 5 million files of this law firm. The law firm was told that, you know, if you pay us our ransom of $25,360 in Bitcoin back in 2016, we'll unencrypt your files. That 25,000 today is well over $100,000 in Bitcoin. Their backups were corrupted because the first thing you think of is, I'm not going to pay, I have backups. This hacker group was so good. What they did, they were in this law firm's network for 300 days with no, and the IT folks had no idea they were there. And what they did is they went into the backup system for this company and turned off their backups. The IT company that was supporting them had no idea that those things were turned off. So they just waited 90 days because they knew that the retention of the backups for 90 days, let that 90 days expire, and then encrypted the files. The company went to look at their backups and they were worthless. They weren't there. They were down for 2 weeks, even after they paid the ransom. People go, why were they down for 2 weeks? Because it took 39 hours to restore per terabyte. They had 14 terabytes of files to transmit. The Eastern European company had to transmit those files back to them because they had nothing. So it's an example of what I've mentioned before about trusting your IT company and making sure they're really taking care of you as far as backups. Here locally, another one, we heard about this a little while ago, Rebound Orthopedics and Neurosurgery was phished. And phishing is, as I know most of you know, is when you get that weird email, but you click on a link, even though you know you shouldn't, or maybe you don't know, that it looks so real that you click on that link, and what that link gives the phisher access to your PC and possibly into your network. So in Nick's example, they were able to get into the patient database, and they were able to extract patients' names, date of birth, social security numbers, driver's license numbers, financial account information, all the stuff that is gold for them to then go in and just either sell that information or go after your assets. Burgerville. Anyone remember this? Burgerville's credit card system was hacked for a year. So if you went into Burgerville in this 1 year period back in between September 2017 and September 2018, your credit card numbers, all that stuff was probably stolen. And Burgerville had an idea somebody was in their network, but wasn't too sure. The FBI is the one that told them they were hacked. And then they, at one point, when they themselves went into it and looked to see their exposure, they thought that the attack was brief, but had no idea it was still continuing on. Burgerville worked with the FBI for a while and didn't notify folks of the exposure so the FBI could track down how it was done. These guys were very good at what they did and didn't leave a lot of tracks. So again, it's, you know, the exposure to your network is tremendous. Here, whoop, too quick. Go back. All right. Here's an idea, one thing where it's not an actual attack. This is somebody who was in Columbia Sportswear's IT group, but they dropped the ball, the IT group, when the employee left the company, that they didn't take away his credentials. So this individual left Columbia Sportswear, went to another company, but his account was left open. So he had the ability to get into Columbia Sportswear's IT infrastructure for a period of time and grab commercially valuable and private information, what's going on in Columbia Sportswear, and was able to sell it. Eventually, the FBI caught up with him, and as you can see in the article, he was sentenced to 10 years in prison and $250,000 fine for doing that. So in addition to the meanies on the outside, you have former employees who might also expose your company to loss. So why don't we hear about small business cyber attacks? We hear about the big guys, but not, the little ones. First, it's not newsworthy. Someone, marchers, send out cards getting hacked. It's not a big news story for the media. It's extremely embarrassing to have to admit that you were hacked and that your customer information was exposed. Loss of credibility and your reputation is totally tarnished, and most people probably won't do business with you again. Horrible PR. Like I said, once it goes out, what are your clients? They're going to be, your phone's going to be ringing off the hook about, what was exposed, what do they know about me, and what are you going to do to fix it? And possible lawsuits due to it. So that's why many incidents go unreported. It's handled quietly, and if you're not in an industry that requires you to report it, you never hear about it, but it is happening. So we just mentioned reputation. This healthcare organization was the subject of an attack of ransomware via email. The ransomware, the attackers got into their network, encrypted all the patient files. And what's interesting, if you see on the bottom of the thing, is that these folks have an interesting business model. Make it just easy enough to pay the ransom, and they price it right. So they end up paying $50,000 to get all their patient information back because it was cheaper to do that than try to go back to backups and do it themselves. I pulled this the other day. This is specific to healthcare. If you're in the healthcare industry and you get hacked, you have to report that to the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. This I pulled a few days ago. This is specific to Oregon. So you can see there are attacks you probably never heard of. Like I'll pick on Oregon Endodontic Group was hacked, and is working with HHS to do an investigation. Smaller medical firms didn't make the news, but here's some big ones. Multnomah County Department of Human Resources had unauthorized access disclosure. So you have the county, you have regions, and you have a couple of smaller medical groups. The only reason we know about this is because HHS requires it, and it's public information that you can look up. So what we do is the point of today's presentation is what can you do to prevent yourself from being a victim of cybersecurity. So we have is a 15-point checklist that we go through with our clients to check out, what can we fix for you that will decrease your exposure. And the first thing is, of course, your logon passwords. Requiring passwords to be a certain length, certain complexity. There's debate about right now how often you have people change it. How good is your antivirus? Are you using the freebie version of Avast? Or are you using a highly effective antivirus product like we use for our clients that uses artificial intelligence and is updated in milliseconds and has the ability to roll back a ransomware attack in seconds? There's dark web research where we will research on the dark web if any of your email addresses have their passwords exposed and it's being sold on the internet. Multi-factor authentication. This drives some people crazy. It's the technology where if you try to log into an account, that you have to supply them with a series of numbers to get in. So if a hacker does get into, say, your email account and your Office 365 account, or is trying to access some financial information, that sends a text to your phone, or it requires you to give a random series of numbers based from your phone, that is usually the most effective way to stop hackers from getting into your email and other things. Security awareness. We do training for employees on phishing. We'll have a series of short videos where people on their own time, or I should say on their own time, when they have time to do it, is get the required training done, and then we'll do phishing tests. We'll send out phishing emails and see who falls for it, and then you do remedial education. And then finally, so we don't have a half hour here, is firewall. Making sure you have a really good firewall between your business network and the internet. There are some cheapy ones out there that really won't help you, but there's also very affordable ones that have a higher level of security and make sure and block attacks at the gate. I said finally, but there's one more I should actually say, because we were talking about before we started this talk, that when employees go home, say you issued a laptop to your employee and they're at work, so they're behind your firewall, have all the security you have at your business, but when they go home, that firewall's gone. So a gigantic chunk of your security mechanism goes away. So how do you deal with that when the employee's working from home and the firewall is not there anymore to protect you? So what we recommend is, if a lot of times we'll do this for free. We'll come into a client and go through this checklist. Some of the things clients aren't keen on and don't want to do. Some things they're like, oh yeah, we do that, and we can check on it. And we'll do a full-on security assessment of a client's network to make sure they're secure. So that's the last thing on this point in the top left corner is the free security assessment, where we just look at where you're at today, where's your exposure, and what needs to be fixed. And we plan out over time, because of course a lot of these things cost money, but we can put it in your budget and fix things over time to make sure you are secure. With that, this is my contact information, so you can email me or give us a call on Compass Computing Group, and I'm open for questions and answers right now.
I have one, Frank.
Sure.
So when you get an email that has a link and you think it's legitimate, and you click on that link and you get that red screen that says, go back, could be a dangerous website. Have you already exposed yourself? Or
yes,
you have?
If you get an email with a link and you think it's iffy, what I'll usually do is call the sender, see if they really sent it. The easiest way, and hackers know their way around this, but look at the sender's email address, really look at it. We had a client the other day who supposedly an email was sent to him from LogMeIn, and that his LogMeIn access had been rescinded and he needed to click on this link to reactivate it. I pointed out, look at who that was sent from. Yes, it says logmein.com, but in front of it was s.logmein.com. So it's a totally fake phishing attempt to get him to reveal his credentials for LogMeIn. There are products out there that we use. We use it at the Tualatin chamber, that when you click on those links, what it does first is put that into a sandbox and check it before it allows you to get sent. So this technology allows their artificial intelligence to check where it's going to go. And if it's a malicious site, it will stop you dead in your tracks from going there.
So if you've done that, then what do you recommend?
Immediately, if you think you made a mistake, you should probably, one, disconnect your laptop computer from the internet, and two, immediately change all passwords on your machine. And then if you've got good antivirus, run an antivirus scan.
Okay.
Those are the quick and easy ones. But the biggest thing is just make sure, get that Ethernet cord or turn off your Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Yep. Because the idea, what they're trying to do is they might put a keylogger on your machine, which is what they track your keystrokes. So by disconnecting from the internet, you will not be sending those keystrokes to them. And that's why, pull the cord, turn off Wi-Fi, and then immediately change all your passwords, just in case they had the time to dig into your machine. And like that gentleman had, he has a keychain of, he has a password maintenance utility, that they grab that.
Is it so? What I know, there was a long time false security that if you were on a Mac versus a PC and Windows, that you were safe from viruses. Is that still true?
No, they're going after Mac users too. I mean, they can go after your Android phones now too. Anything that, because especially your Android phones, think about all the information that's on your phone that directly links to your banks, your credit cards, your personal information. That's a gold mine. So they're going after cell phones, and the old theory that Apples don't get hacked, they get hacked. You just don't hear about it.
So iPhones, you said Android phones, so
Android, iPhones, they all, yeah. What the advantage of an iPhone is their encryption. That's what makes them stand out. Is iPhones, most of the data on an iPhone is encrypted, so it's very difficult to encrypt. That's not true on an Android.
Interesting.
But Androids, you can get free antivirus and anti malware software that you install on your device. I have it. McAfee has a free version of Avast. All kinds of vendors, you can put basically antivirus for your cell phone on your cell phone to protect you.
Never knew that.
Yep. I mean, I think about cell phone. I think cell phones are more of a gold mine than a computer now.
Oh, probably. Yeah.
Yeah, I try not to put anything on my cell phone. My association got hacked yesterday, and luckily we caught it. The treasurer got an email supposedly from me saying cut a check and overnight it. And luckily she didn't have time to cut the check and overnight it, and called me. And luckily I had my phone on, because I usually turn it off when I'm with a client. But I called her back, and she's like, this check looks funky. I'm like, we're not writing any checks right now. We're not doing anything right now. So I was kind of freaked out about how they got my name, because they actually spelled my name right. A lot of people in my association don't spell my name right. So that was really scary. But now you're telling me that just about anybody could have gotten it just about any way possible.
Right.
So
yeah, that's a good, like you said, we talked about before, the business email kind of a hack. You mentioned before that, I'm mayor of Tualatin, and just as you mentioned, Gabrielle, I got a email from the IT director of the city of Tualatin telling me that, there was a compromise attack, that an email came from you as mayor to our finance department to cut checks to certain people and send it. And the only, one of the biggest reasons people caught it is that I don't have that power. It is people to cut checks and send it out. But they made an attempt. My name was spelled right. They had everything right. But the IT department caught it, and then the folks inside the organization knew that isn't right. So a lot of times you'll have finance folks look at it and go, wait a minute, that he doesn't use his formal name on emails, or he or she has a nickname they put on emails, so they know something's hokey. So it comes down to, you really have to look at those emails and really look at who it came from. But these email compromise folks are really good at hiding their tracks and making it look really real, and faking the headers on the email to look like it is a legit email.
yeah, in fact, I heard that, I can't remember what company it was. This is a story I heard a couple of years ago, that this company had a website, and then there was a fake website, and the fake website actually looked more real than the real website. Because the fake website, they put a ton of money into it, whereas the real website, they didn't have a huge budget, so it was a slightly funky. And so yeah, the fake website actually looked more real.
Yeah.
I didn't bother to call the newspapers or anything about it, but I did put it out to the National Association, because there was something that happened about 4 months ago that I started to put it out to the National Association, and I noticed there was already another half dozen people had already posted that they were hitting up our association. So that's where I put it out, so that people would know.
We can get into that today. It's so there's a thing called DNS, is domain name service. The thing that people do is they'll do a hack on the server that hosts your domain name, Well,
Okay.
they'll just point it. They'll repoint from your legit website. They'll go in there and change the internet address to point it to their site, especially for like retail, commercial retail kind of organizations. Like
Oh,
Gabrielle, it looks like totally real, but it only takes them a week or so to collect all that information, credit card things. Then they shut it down and move on. And by
oh,
the
so I should probably go back to our server and let them know.
talk to your IT folks and make sure that your DNS server is and the pointer to what your website is at is actually the where it's supposed to be, because that was a big a kind of attack a few years ago, was just going into servers and changing addresses to point to illegitimate sites.
Lovely. So, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have such a tiny budget. It's just pathetic, you know. But
That's the challenge for small business with cybersecurity is they don't have the budget. So we, as Compass Computing, we leverage that because we have a bunch of clients, so we can do we have volume, if you will, so we can get the better products that most small businesses can't afford because we have the volume of buying a bunch of licenses for higher end antivirus, higher end cybersecurity products, and share it across our customer platform.
all right. So thank you very much. This is incredible. I'm gonna, Marcia and Jerry, would you please, if I'm not there on Tuesday, would you please announce this to the rest of the group? Everybody in Tiger Chamber needs to watch this video if they haven't already met up with Frank. So, any other comments, Jerry or Marcia?
So Frank, when you say change all your passwords, I don't even know all my passwords.
Right.
Like,
so a lot of people ask me about how should I store my passwords, and there's a couple of products out there on the internet that use encryption that will allow you to store all your passwords in encrypted files.
Oh, lost you.
Also allow that if you go to
I
certain
think we lost your voice.
What's that?
no, Jerry, you're frozen, not Frank.
Am I good?
Oh,
Frank's
All right.
good. I can hear him, but Jerry, you're frozen, and I'm hearing things from your background.
All right. So yeah, so what I have, the simplest, easiest way for some people, I tell them to correct their passwords is if you have Excel, go into Excel or Word and type out all your passwords for different websites, your bank account, stuff like that. But then use the ability in Excel and Word to encrypt the file and put a password on it. And that password and encryption is pretty much a lock that you're very safe. No one's going to be able to hack that without your password. And that's what a lot of people do. I just tell them, stick that password file on your machine. Also, probably maybe a copy of it and put it on your USB and have it in a safe deposit box or a safe for when you need it in case your machine crashes or something like that. Or you can have pay for one of the services where it's all stored in the cloud and on your machine. You have the automation when you go to websites that it knows which password to pull, and they are totally random passwords. It does it for you. So going back to Marcia, I start creating an Excel file, the baby steps of all the different logins you have and save it in that file and use the ability to encrypt that file within Excel or Word to protect it.
Yeah, because I know on Mac, since somebody just introduced me to this, I had no idea, of going to Siri and just saying passwords. And I then have to put in my password for my desktop in order to open that up. And I look at that and I go, what site is that? Like, when did I ever go into that site? So it's like, maybe that's a place to start cleanup.
Right. And then you have the old, when we do the dark web scans, that say you used to be on LinkedIn, you don't do LinkedIn anymore, but the hackers bought that information and had your LinkedIn password. So first thing they're going to do is every time they see an account that's owned by you, they're going to try that LinkedIn password because most people are lazy and they use maybe 2-3 passwords for everything. And so once a hacker gets a hold of 1 or 2 of your passwords on the dark web, they'll just start using that to attack all your accounts. Right. And that's what I mentioned before. Microsoft was a big proponent of changing passwords every 60 to 90 days. And now they've reversed course on that, saying what that bred was weak passwords, or the infamous, all you did was increment the number by 1 every
Yeah.
time you're at the end, or you changed one character. So now they're going back to, a strong password that you don't change often at all.
Have you noticed an uptick in phishing and all of the stuff since COVID?
Yeah, because like you mentioned before, a lot of people are out of the office. So you're sitting at home, like Gabrielle was mentioning, an OHSU employee sitting at home with their computer that used to be on site. And if they're in accounts payable, or all of a sudden they're getting inundated with phishing emails because they can't look over to their coworker and say, hey, can you look at this? This looks weird.
Yeah.
They're
Oh, I
sitting
can see that. Yeah.
a little bit more vulnerable. So those attacks have tremendously increased because people are sitting at home, not able to, contact their IT department or their IT provider as quick as they normally could, because when they were sitting in the office.
Yeah. So I'm looking at the three of us, and we're all three solopreneurs, working from home. Really, to use your company, don't you have to have a network or?
No, we
No?
have in Tualatin Chamber, I have quite a few people who are just, solopreneurs, and we give them all the tools to protect them that a bigger company would have, and it's pretty affordable. I mean, for a solopreneur entrepreneur, our top of the line product that protects you with $1 million ransomware insurance policy is about $65 a month.